Hello, my fellow YouTubers. This is Roy back again. On my last video I made, I talked about a book in every home from Scalar, and I also talked about scalar waves. And tonight I wanted to continue show you a couple experiments and continue the next chapter for my video that I previously made, and we'll get into a couple things here which are pretty interesting. So let's go ahead and plug in the oscilloscope. I'm going to turn this fan off. Okay, fan's off, and let's dive right into it. All right, so oscilloscope's on, and as I turn, you'll see that there's a push and pull me wave being created by the wheel. Okay. And that's because of the reaction that's coming off this one PMH. And that PMH is hooked up to the oscilloscope. I'm sort of checking its frequency, its wave. And there's a load on that. So you can see that the tops are not perfect sine waves. They got some pointiness to them. So this PMH here is going to produce a scalar wave. And we're going to ask ourselves, how are we going to do this? Well, right here I got two speakers hooked up. Now what we're going to do is I got this speaker tapped into wherever the oscilloscope is touching, the two wires, and it's hooked up to the positive and negative of its polarity set up in the back there. Okay, and then this one here is hooked up to the opposite. So on its plus going in, I got the negative, and so that's basically taking these two speakers and putting them out of phase. Now, a couple things I want you to see. It's pretty exciting. Here I got some sugar. I was doing some vibration frequencies with this, and we'll get into that in another video. Right now I want to cover. So this speaker is connected in there in one phase, and this is the other phase. So they're opposite phases. So in retrospect, if I turn the wheel, this one should be going up and this one should be going down. Okay? Now if we were to take these and put them towards each other, it's a whole nother video in talking about what do you put inside and what frequency you throw in there. But we'll get into this a little bit more detailed. But right now, I'll show you something fascinating. If I touch this, watch that light. Okay, so we're putting a charge back into the PMH. Here's starters. I want you guys look at this as a figure eight. Okay, a figure eight. Two circles put together, and it's a figure eight. This is the backbone of the demonstrations and the video tonight that I'm making. So you see when I touch this, bright light. Okay. Now when I touch this also, watch this speaker. Can't see it, so that's why I got the sugar. Throw some sugar in there. Watch the sugar. I'm going to beat on this. So when this is being pushed, it's reacting. It's the opposite reacting. And the same thing over here. If I take the sugar and put it over here, I touch this side, you see the sugar bouncing. And that's just the fun part of it. imagine the experiments that can go on here. This is scalar waves. Now, sound waves are compression waves. Scalar waves are compression waves. That's what they have in common. But it gets a little better. So let me come over here, grab a couple of my notes, and we'll come over here and we'll talk about this. So scalar waves are different from conventional electromagnetic transverse waves by having two oscillations anti-parallel with each other, each originating from opposite charged sources, thereby lacking any net directionality. Something like that. My notes are hard to read. Directionality. The waves are the waves congregates of each other, and so if left uninterrupted, each pass through ordinary matter with relative ease. So they are not included in the mainstream physics. They don't work like ordinary longitudinal waves either. You can make scalar waves with a bifilar coil, one wound with a pair of wires instead of a single wire, and pushing and opposing currents through the wire. Join at the end together, and it'll be a great experiment with that kind of stuff. The next part of the scalar waves we need to talk about, they are produced when two electromagnetic waves are the same frequency, are exactly of opposite to each other. The result is not exactly an inhalation of magnetic fields, but transformation of energy back into scalar waves. This scalar waves combine or can be created by wrapping electric wires around a figure 8 in the same shape of Mobius coil. When electric currents flows through the wires in opposite direction, the opposing electromagnetic field from the two wires cancel each other out and create a scalar wave. The DNA antenna in our cells, in our body, energy production centers the mitochondria, assumes the shape of what is called a supercoil. Supercoils in DNA look like a series of Mobius coils. These Mobius supercoils DNA are hypolymphatically able to generate scalar waves. Most cells in our body contain thousands of these Mobius supercoils. Very important to follow up with that. Sorry about the read. I got the dog in the back there. He's kind of distracting me. But we're going to work through Ed in making scalar waves. And with the scalar waves, we'll use the same frequency. We'll come at each other. Ed talks about frequencies, and we're going to have to end the video with this. I left two more notes, and these notes kind of were dug up that is very related to what we're talking about. Electromagnetic spectrum radiation, quarter wave resonator. Secondary coil wire must be a quarter wavelength of the resonant frequency. Important information here. Quarter wave resonator, tube closed at one end and open at the other. The wall is a rigid end of the tube confines a body of air within the resonator cavity. Under certain conditions, this body of air can be brought to a state of resonance. Octave. Perfect octave is an interval between one musical pitch and another with double its frequency. So let's think about that scalar wave and where it fits in an octave. Schumann. When converted into sound waves, 7.83 is a flat BZ, 2 octaves below the lowest note on a piano. The electric powers hums at 60 hertz, the ninth overtone of the earth, and the loudest note from space, B1 or deep B. The earth behaves like a gigantic electric circuit. Its electromagnetic field surrounds and protects all living things with a natural pulsation of 7.83 hertz. On average, the so-called Schumann resonance. Losing my notes here. Schumann resonance we leave that. So this is the one where that's that one, the Schumann resonance. Earth circumference 24,901 miles. 1 mile is 5,280 feet. Why is this important? Just take it on and you'll figure it out. At any given moment, about 2,000 thunderstorms roll around the earth, all over the earth, producing some 50 flashes of lightning every second. Each lightning burst creates electromagnetic waves that begin to circle around the earth's, captured between Earth's surface and the boundary about 60 miles up. Some of the waves, if they have just the right wavelength, combine increasing in strength to create a repeating atmospheric heartbeat known as the Schumann resonance. This resonance provides a useful tool to analyze Earth's weather, its electric environment, and to even help determine what types of atoms and molecules exist in the Earth's atmosphere. The waves created by lightning do not look like the up and down waves of the ocean, but they still oscillate with regions of greater and lesser energy. These waves remain trapped inside the atmospheric ceiling created by the lower edge of the ionosphere, a part of the ionosphere filled with charged particles which begin at 60 miles up into the sky. In this case, the sweet spot for resonance requires the wave to be as long or twice, 3 times as long as the circumference of the earth. Then here comes into the scalar part that we were talking about with Ed Lee Scaling and with speakers, and showing a demonstration on opposite poles in the same frequency. We'll get into what we can do with that. This is extremely low frequency wave that can be as low as 8 hertz, some 100,000 times lower than the lowest frequency of radio waves, used to send signals to your AM FM. As this wave flows around the earth, it hits itself again at the perfect spots, such as the crest and troughs are aligned, via waves acting in resonance with each other to pump up an original signal. The overtone series starting string vibrates equals 110 hertz. When you pluck a string, it vibrates many different frequencies at the same time, the lowest of which is 110 hertz fundamental frequency. So the first one here is your 110 fundamental first harmonic. The second one is your first overtone at 220. Your third one, your first overtone. Your second overtone is 330. And you can see the nodes, 3 nodes. Then you can see your third overtone is 440, and you can see from the start to finish there's 2, 4, 6 points. So that means there's 1, 2, 3, 4 nodes, and you're ending back again. Interesting stuff that we need to follow that comes along with working with Tesla's scalar waves, our human body, and also Ed Leedskalnin's part of how he possibly levitated the rocks, because we already know that scalar waves are able to punch through most or all matter, and that means all we need to do from there is a lot more work, because and once you have that figured out, and if you wanted to levitate something or melt something, we already can melt something, but if I want to take rock, organic, and say have it weightless, I would need to know the resonant frequency somehow of the material itself, and then I don't believe that that frequency is the frequency you're using. You're using a harmonic or an overtone of that frequency in order to find the place to where it could bounce back and forth and eliminate the weight of that object. Leave your comments. Hopefully you appreciate the video. You can see as I turn the wheel fast, we're going to see the light lights up. And then these are moving fast. This is moving fast. We can barely even see it. It's moving, it's humming so fast because the wheel's turning. That's why I was bringing up the Schumann resonance. I believe the wheel doesn't have to turn fast. I feel this vibrating really good as the wheel slows down. And with the lower speeds, you're able to have more amplification. With the amplification going into a scalar wave, you're able to have some amplification to start the process, but I just think it's easier than that, and you don't need a bunch of power. And then you're going to allow that wave to collapse in the center of itself and then expand. So your contraction is in the center, like our DNA, and basically you're going to expand. And this is what we're going to run through with Ed's wheel. We'll bring on other components to Ed's wheel with the two capacitors, the condensers that he has on top of the pipe. We'll introduce ground into the system. And with the scalar, I explained to you, it's not like longitudinal waves at all. It's similar until it opposes back into itself and creates the figure 8 speedway. And in reference to that, with Ed's wheel, or with Ed's PMH going into another PMH, creates the figure 8 that I speak about. But I didn't, this is not this video. We're going to do this in another video. So with opposing coils, you're creating, you would think it cancels itself. So like all the physicists and the electrical engineers say it just cancels itself. It's useless. But no. It's actually creating a scalar wave at that point. And at that point, it's punching through everything. And at that point, punching through everything, just because you can't see it, that doesn't mean it's not there. And from that point, you come off the PMHs. And I just wanted to show on the speakers how it reacts. And you can see it just from a magnetic field going into the PMH, causing the speaker go up and down. And then this speaker, how it's hooked up is opposing without amperage. Like if I took this and hooked it up to a 12-volt battery to a transistor, 2N30555, no, 2N305 transistor. I think I got that right. These guys. And it's been a while since I've been in here. But a 2N3055. Yeah, I'm close. And an amplify, you would see these bouncing out of their skin, And from that point, we could do some other experiments, especially by searching frequency patterns. Pretty cool stuff. And then introducing the cones, because the cones become antennas. So if we were to go into some of Ed's stories, not his stories, but about Ed, on how he used the cones to lift the rocks onto the loading truck to move from one location to another, we like to take the theory of what I'm laying out here and put it to work and see what we can do. Because if we're using scalar waves to penetrate objects, we already can use a frequency to melt metal. We already can use a frequency to allow something to heat up. But what that, to me, is only the first or the second layer of the onion. The third layer is the scalar part, the part to where you take ethereal pressure, or you take air pressure, which is sound waves, and you are dabbling in that one area, and then on top of that, you're going in behind the scenes, behind the curtain on the whole onion, where the scalar waves is penetrating everything through the whole thing. Basically, it's the energy of the whole universe. I want you guys to leave your comments. Peace out. It's great to be back. It's great to care. It's great to investigate. It's great to have intuitive thoughts. And it's awesome to even care about it, because you can lose your sting, your passion. It happens. And I talked a lot about that in Ed Lee Scallan's A Book in Every Home, how he talks about everything gets dull. And I don't want you guys to get dull. Even if you have to walk out of your shop for a minute, do something different. Do something against what you do normally, is what I did. And had no reason why I'm doing it, but yeah. And basically, the part I still have that I'm on sabbatical is that the lifestyle change continued. And now I realize that as you go through your journey, everybody has a cross to bear. How you bear it is up to you, and what you do with it is also up to you. And you could take that every day, every second that you are conscious, and look at that as a magnetic strip on your credit card, if you got one. And it just keeps acquiring. And my sabbatical was nothing more than a shaking of the tablecloth and hoping that everything on the table stayed put. And I pulled out the sheet. And by pulling out the sheet, I literally mean gave up sugar, gave up drinking, gave up whatever else, gave up coffee, just stripped down, started exercising, started running, started taking control. And by stripping down for 3 months, I come to realize that it's nice to live, but it's also nice to live to be able to shake off what life has done to yourself. And if it's like Ed talks about, leaving a stain, or more so imposing and leaving thoughts or memories or damage or illness, it builds up. So I just want to say I love you all. And it's tough times right now. Hopefully everybody's doing okay. And if it's not affecting you, good for you. If it is affecting you, you just stay strong. Go inside, change it, make it happen. Visualize it. Jump out of the box. And that's what I did figure out is about control. Because all those things that stuck to me pretty much stayed there on top of the new stuff coming in, and eventually it's hard to manage as a human being. And you need to be able to shake off these things, and by shaking them off, best thing you can do is what's good for you. What was good for me was stopping them, whether I was consuming or whatever, and changing my physical part of myself and being regimented. By doing so, you can start including things that you gave up, but you have to be in control of them, and you can't be doing them like the old timers would say to us, just do it in moderation, it's not that bad for you. But even milk is bad for you, for some people. Anyway, love you all. Stay safe. Take care of yourself. Peace out.